Axiom Arc and Horizon Focus are really underrated on a bunch of champs after their recent buffs, while pro support players have a new build they're running on a variety of champions. So let's break it all down in today's video as we provide you guys with 10 of the most OP new builds for 25.18. And did you know that each game you queue up with the wrong build is another game where you're playing with a self-imposed handicap and just throwing away LP? That's why we've worked tirelessly to create the ultimate ADC itemization course. While others blindly follow recommended builds, you'll be dynamically adapting your purchases for maximum impact in every situation. This isn't just theory. You'll get side-by-side damage comparisons of items so that you know exactly why one is better than the others. The course features 24 in-depth videos with each ADC getting their own complete analysis from which rush items are the best to what your later game purchases should look like. Wondering when to build Kraken, Blade of the Ruined King, or Yuntal on Yanara? We break down the math with frame-by-frame comparisons. Is crit actually better than on-hit builds for Vayne? We have the answers. So why handicap yourself with cookie-cutter builds this season when you can be running the optimal setup on every single ADC? For access to this new course, along with thousands of hours of additional premium content, click the link in the description below. And with that said, let's get into it. A bit of an unsuspecting champion who has been loving the recent buffs to Axiom Arc is Kled. By no means are bruiser builds bad on Kled now, but this lethality setup has a lot of power too if played in the correct spots. The 3-item core consists of a Hubris Rush into Axiom Arc 2nd and Titanic Hydra 3rd. So with Hubris and Axiom Arc, both items amplify snowball power immensely. Hubris provides you with bonus AD the more kills you get, and Axiom Arc reduces your R cooldown when you score kills, so the build really rewards getting kills and then continuing to relentlessly pressure that lead. In regards to when the build is going to work best, you will want to play it in games where the enemy lacks more durable targets. If you're up against a tank comp, then just going for Bruiser Kled will be more consistent, but if you're against a full squishy enemy team that you can burst out very fast, that's where lethality will thrive the most. Over the past while in our previous meta videos, we've hammered down how powerful Grasp is for Bruiser Kled, but if you're playing this lethality setup, you will want to be taking Conqueror instead, as you don't get as much value from Grasp if you aren't building any health. A top lane champion who's finding great success with experimental Hexplate, but is still very underrated with the item is Warwick. With Warwick, you have two core items that you don't really want to skip, being Blade of the Ruined King and Stridebreaker, but third item is where Hexplate can slot in. The dueling power when you got this 3-item core with Warwick is completely insane, with Hexplate providing you a total of 70% attack speed after using R, and also granting 20% movement speed. There's such little counterplay for the enemy if you hit them with your R. By going for Hexplate, you can just stat check most champions in the 1v1, as you'll just auto attack them to death with all the attack speed. The build is going to work the best for you in games where you really want to exploit your power in the side lane. If you're planning to team fight, then opting for a tankier third item like Spirit Visage or Sterix is still good, but if your win condition is to pressure the side lane and win out in 1v1s, Hexplate is a phenomenal pickup. There's a new optimal build going around for Blue Kayn, and it consists of taking the recently buffed Axiom Arc. Hubris into Opportunity has been the most popular core build for Blue Kayn as of late, but swapping out Opportunity for Axiom Arc is a really good decision now. With Blue Kayn, your one-shot power against squishy targets is incredible if you have your R available, as there's just not a ton of counterplay for them against a fed Kayn. By going Axiom Arc and getting the R cooldown refund on takedowns, you're able to be aggressive more often, and this is really important for Blue Kayn. When you're playing this assassin style of Kayn, he's going to fall off if the game drags out super late, so taking Axiom so that you can snowball through the mid game as hard as possible is really nice. You'll also gain 20 ability haste from Axiom Arc, while Opportunity offers up none at all, so the overall cooldown on your R is going to be so much lower when running this build. Red Kayn can be pretty useful in a fight without his R due to being more durable and having the knockup from W, but with Blue Kayn, diving into a fight without R is a lot more risky, so Axiom Arc helps the champion be a lot more consistent. A build for Morgana jungle that is being played by a few pros in solo queue revolves around taking Horizon Focus as a core item. So Horizon Focus just got buffed last patch, and it's being picked up a lot more frequently now in the higher elos. Horizon Focus actually has so much value on Morgana due to its reveal passive. Scouting Brush in the mid game with Morgana becomes so much easier, and you never have to face check Brush because you can walk up with your spell shield on yourself and throw Q and W into a bush, and if the reveal proc doesn't go off from Horizon, then you'll know that nobody is in there, so you can gain back control of the map. Hitting a Q on an enemy who is in an unwarded bush is also extremely rewarding when you have Horizon, because that vision reveal will help identify who you've hit and whether or not your team wants to follow up. If you hit a squishy target in a brush with Q, but you're not sure who it is, going all in for the kill doesn't make much sense if the target you hit could have been a tank. If you see that you've caught out the enemy ADC though, or high priority target, you can just full send, so this reveal passive can be absolutely game changing on Morgana. A mid lane champion who's incredibly powerful with Horizon Focus that you wouldn't really suspect is Vladimir. Horizon Focus as a rush item on Vlad has a better win rate than Cosmic Drive or Rocket Belt, and it's being played at a pretty solid rate as well, with over 10,000 Horizon Focus Vlad games. So it's not like it's just a very low sample size that is skewing things, as in the higher ranks especially, Vlad players players are prioritizing Horizon quite often, with the item being rushed in 16% of Master Tier games, but only 4% of Gold games. One of the reasons Horizon Focus works really well on Vlad is because of the mass amount of raw AP the item provides. After the recent buff, you now get 125 AP from Horizon Focus, and this not only translates into more damage for Vlad, but due to his passive, it also translates into more health. 160% of Vlad's AP is converted into health, so with Horizon offering up 125 AP, you're getting 192 health from purchasing the item. It's just an all-out AP stacking 2-item core for Vlad, with Rabadon's being his second purchase, so you're building the 2 AP items that have the most amount of AP in the game so that you deal a ton of damage and get maximum value out of Vlad's passive. And then one more mid lane champ that you really need to go back to building Horizon Focus on is Ahri. Horizon Focus as Ahri's second item is now outperforming Shadow Flame by a wide margin. There's now a 3% win rate gap between the two items, so that's a big enough difference to say that Horizon is just the better purchase in the majority of games. Horizon Focus being 450 gold cheaper and also providing 25 ability haste are the main draws to the item for Ahri. Ahri's potential in solo queue is entirely gated around whether or not she has her R available. So the trade-off of a little bit less damage in exchange for more windows of opportunity to make plays is well worth it for Ahri. By rushing Malignance and taking Horizon Focus second, your R is on as short of a cooldown as possible, and it makes your mid-game impact so much better. So if you want to play Varus ADC right now, there's really only one way to make him a strong pick, and that is by rushing Experimental Hexplate. Standard Varus builds are not performing very well at all, with lethality being the weakest after the recent nerfs Varus received. If you go Hexplate though, then the champion has so much more potential. Hexplate is a really powerful item for Varus because he can take full advantage of all the stats it provides. Varus loves the 30 ability haste for his R because so much of his strength in solo queue revolves around finding catch plays with the spell. The attack speed and movement speed boost that you get for using R is amazing as well because it makes the all-in power of the champ super good. And then for a champion who lacks a gap closer, the health from Hexplate doesn't go to waste in the slightest, as it makes it so that assassins don't just get a free one-shot on you. So here's the complete setup that you will want to play as you go into Rageblade second and Terminus third, while Lethal Tempo is the optimal Keystone rune. So a new build that you need to be playing on Ezreal if you want to make the champ work right now is Voltaic's Cyclosword. Dragdar, who's one of the best solo queue Ezreal players, has been running Cyclosword recently, and he thinks it's Ezreal's best third item right now for most games. Voltaic is going to be really good for you on Ezreal in games where the enemy comp is majority squishy, as the one-shot power that it will provide is just nuts. Into tankier comps, you can still run Cyrildas, or if you're against a lot of poke, then Bloodthirsters is viable, but if the enemy team is quite squishy, then definitely run Voltaic. Now, you might be wondering, well, why is Voltaic the lethality item of choice for Ezreal? Why not something like Ghostblade or Opportunity? It's because of Voltaic's passive providing you with the 20% slow on the energized attack. Since Ezreal can proc this slow with his Q, Voltaic gives him some additional kiting power and catch potential. So for the complete core build, it's standard stuff for your first two items with Trinity Force and Manamune, and then Voltaic slots in third. Make sure to run the correct rune page as well, as most Ezreal players have been taking Bloodline, Coup de Grace, and Biscuits, while Dragdar likes Haste, Cut Down, and Jack of all trades. It's not all too often we see new interesting builds pop up for support, but for 25.18, we've got a new meta emerging. Over the past patch, Redemption as a rush item has started to become quite popular among high elo and pro players. Rakan is the champion rushing the item the most right now and finding really good results. About 20% of Rakan players have been rushing Redemption, and it currently has a 3% better win rate than Locket. So when comparing Redemption to Locket, the active from Redemption does provide a lot more value, but it is a little bit more difficult to use. But with Locket, you just click your button and everyone gets a shield, whereas with Redemption, you do have to strategically place it, so it may take you a few games to adjust. Once you get used to using Redemption's active though, it's just so much more powerful than Locket because a heal is more valuable than a shield, and Redemption also deals damage. With Rakan, he wants to be diving into fights and locking enemies down with R, which actually makes using Redemption a bit easier for him. If you just use the Redemption active every time you're diving in, then you're going to get good value out of it, healing yourself and also dealing damage to enemies. So this is what your build should look like as a Celestial Opposition is the item upgrade. You go into Redemption and then pick up Locket. And then a second melee support that pro players have started rushing Redemption on is Rel. Since Rel has the ability to lock enemies down for such a long duration with her Chain CC combo, the value from Redemption can be really good on her. A lot of Rel's best ADC duos are champions that want to get up close as well, like Kai'Sa and Samira, so taking Redemption with those champs is even more valuable. If you dive in with Rel and your Samira or Kai'Sa follows up right beside you, then you can proc the Redemption heal on both of you and also deal damage to the enemy with it, so there's so much potential with Redemption on Rel. The thing about Locket is that sometimes you won't even get any value at all out of its active. If the enemy is CC'd or just not hitting you while you proc the Locket shield, then it can be a complete waste, whereas with Redemption, as long as you're not on full health, which you definitely shouldn't be while in the middle of a fight, you'll always get something out of the heal. Redemption is just so much better as a one-item spike because you're going to be in a lot of those 2v2 or 3v3 skirmishes, and your teammates should be playing pretty close with each other to where you should all end up getting the heal. So it's the exact same core build for Rel that we talked about for Rakan with Celestial Opposition into Redemption and Locket. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit skillcapped.com and see the difference. So there you have it everyone, that's a complete look at 10 new OP builds that you can try for 25.18. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.